Welcome to This Week in Leadership Research, episode number 6. Each week, I share a recently published journal article on leadership research. My goal is to translate the most up-to-date leadership research to leadership practices that help you in your daily work. This week, I'll try to answer a question: how should decision-making structure be organized in entrepreneurial teams? This is the question posted in an article titled The Problems and Promise of Entrepreneurial Partnerships, Decision-Making, Overconfidence, and Learning in Founding Teams. The article was published in Academy of Management Review in 2022. The link of the article is in the description section below. A new venture is more likely to be founded by a team of entrepreneurs rather than one single entrepreneur. For example, Bill Gates and Paul Allen started a company in 1975, and the company later grew into Microsoft. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak started Apple Computer in 1976. Unlike other decision-making teams, entrepreneurs are forced to make decisions in an environment with very high uncertainties. They have to engage in a learning process that starts before they decide whether to enter the market. They identify market opportunities, gather data about the merit of those opportunities, and decide whether it is worth putting time, effort, and money into the opportunities to enter the market. They also need to decide when to exit the market. In this article, researchers investigated 3 decision-making structures for teams of 2 decision-makers: a partnership voting structure, a boss with an employee, and a buyout option structure. First, in a partnership voting structure, both decision-makers must agree on whether to enter and exit a market. The 2 decision-makers split returns from their decisions. Second, in a boss-employee decision-making structure, a boss has all decision-making power. The decision of whether to enter or exit the market is decided by one entrepreneur, whom we call a boss. The other entrepreneur, whom we call an employee, receives an upfront fixed fee or a periodic payment by giving up the decision-making right. Third, in a buyout option decision-making structure, 2 decision-makers begin with an equal partnership, like the partnership voting structure. If there is a disagreement, the pro-entry entrepreneur may buy out the other decision-maker. In doing so, the decision-making structure morphs to a boss-employee decision-making structure. The researchers were also interested in how entrepreneurs' overconfidence bias played out in different team decision-making structures. In my book titled Something Went Wrong: 52 Biases That Undermine Your Leadership Decision-Making, overconfidence bias refers to a tendency to overestimate our own skills. There are 2 types of overconfidence bias: overestimation and overprecision. Overestimation means a belief that the likelihood of success is higher than it actually is. For example, an entrepreneur may believe their chance of success is higher than others, even though the average success rate is about 20%. Overconfident entrepreneurs are more likely to enter the market when the opportunities do not merit it. They are more likely to stay in the market when it would be better to exit the market. Overprecision, as the name suggests, means being over-precise. It means the range of a probability of an outcome is too narrow given the uncertainties inherent in opportunities of entering and exiting the market. When an entrepreneur has over-precision bias, they are too sure that their beliefs are correct. Faced with new information, they are reluctant to update their estimates. In the extreme case, they ignore new information completely. The traditional way to mitigate overconfidence bias in team decision-making is to screen out the most overconfident decision-makers, debiasing them through education, or structuring the decision-making process through which decision-makers learn. The researchers wanted to know whether different decision-making structures could mitigate decision-makers' overconfidence bias at the team level. If yes, which of the three decision-making structures performed the best if we knew how overconfident each decision-maker was? The researchers developed a simulation model to evaluate the outcomes of different decision-making structures. What are the results? First, when both decision-makers are not overconfident, the partnership voting structure, in which both decision-makers must agree on both entry and exit decisions, yield better results than other two decision-making structures. This is because when decision-makers did not have overconfidence bias, equal distribution of decision-making power balances decision errors, even when they made an initial wrong decision to enter the market when they should not. The partnership voting structure allowed the decision-makers to correct their decision error by deciding to exit the market in a timely manner. Second, the partnership voting structure is also superior to the other two decision-making structures when decision-makers have overestimation bias. When two decision-makers believe the likelihood of their success is higher than it actually is, the partnership voting structure yields greater returns after entering the market. This is because entrepreneurs who overestimate their success rates are less likely to make the mistake of not to enter the market. Third, when two decision-makers collectively had a neutral level of overconfidence bias at the team level, but one decision-maker may be overconfident or one may be over-pessimistic, the buyout option structure provides the best results. This is because the buyout option structure enables a team to overcome the problem of a single pessimistic decision maker who can unilaterally veto the market entry decision, leading to fewer failures to enter decision-making areas. Fourth, in the boss-employee decision-making structure, decision makers demonstrated both greater overestimation, that is, having a belief that the likelihood of success that it actually is, and over-precision bias, that is, being over-precise with the probability of an outcome, than those in partnership voting structure. Fifth, the time pressure of making a market entry decision also plays a role of choosing an optimal decision-making structure. When the time pressure is high, entrepreneurs have limited time for pre-entry learning. The buyout option is the best decision-making structure. This is because when the time pressure is high, the partnership voting structure loses its advantage of correcting decision errors of different decision makers. But when the time pressure is low and entrepreneurs have more time for pre-entry learning, the partnership voting structure is the best, followed by the boss-employee decision-making structure and the buyout option. Taken together, the partnership voting structure works well when different decision makers overestimate their chance of success or don't have confidence bias at all. The buyout option structure is superior when entrepreneurs differ in their overconfidence bias because it prevents one decision maker with an extreme bias from dominating the decision-making process. The buyout option structure also works well when the time pressure is high because the partnership voting structure loses its advantage of allowing different decision makers to correct their decision errors. How to apply the findings of this article to leadership practices. To choose an optimal decision-making structure for a team, we need to pay attention to each decision maker's biases and how much time we have to make a decision. To improve team performance and decision quality, every time after changes in team compositions, we may need to re-evaluate whether the current team decision-making structure fits the new team composition. Overconfidence bias can be mitigated by selectively matching the decision-making structure to entrepreneurs' biases. If you are a researcher, I hope the article I introduced today can offer some inspirations for your research. If you are a leader or aspire to be a leader, I hope this article can guide you in your leadership practices. Stay open-minded, get inspired, and never stop improving your leadership skills. I'll see you next week in This Week in Leadership Research.